Morning, guys. So today I will explain about the Danish language using some statements in with examples. Myself, I have some experience in this system. The database management system will explain languages statements. Okay. So here we have to in four important languages in our database management system. So using these four languages, we have to use some statements. So here this is the first and most important of database management language, that is VML. VML means data manipulation language. So in this data manipulation language, we'll be using these statements. So the statements like insert, select, update, delete. So next important language is data DDL, data definition language. So in this data definition language, we can use create, alter, draft statements. Using these statements, we have to create the language in your database. Next important language is TCL. TCL means data control language. So here we are using two types of statement, that is grant and revoke. So using these two statements, we have to create data control language. And last and final one, important one is the TCL. TCL means transaction control language. So in this transaction control language, we have to use this type of statements. So these types means begin, grant, commit, transactions, rollback. These are the important statements we have to use in the TCL language. TCL means transaction control language. So remember these four important languages in your structure query language. So using this structure query language, we have to follow the statements. The statements comes under these languages. So these are the four important languages we have to use in your database management system. That is the DML, TDL, TCL, and TCL. DML means data manipulation. I will explain all statements one by one in next section. So here SQL, structured query language, it is divided into four important primary language statements. So that four important languages are DML, and DTL, DCL, and TCL. Using these statements, we can define the structure of the database. We have to follow this language, and we have to, using the statements, we have to define a structure of database. That database we have to create, alter using some object. So we have to create and we have to altering the data in database using some object, and we can manipulate the data in table through the update or deletion. So using these languages, the four languages, these are the four important primary languages. We have to use this language. We have to create a database in our system. Okay. Or we have to create, alter the data on your data. Or using some object, and we have to manipulate the data in that table. So suppose I'm creating a table. In that table, I have some person data, person name, age, class details, everything in that table. So I'm using this language, these statements. I can manipulate the data on that table, and update or deletions also happen using these statements only. We can control which user can read, write data, or manage transaction to create a single unit of work. So here we have to use controlling your data, and you can data can be read or write or manage or using the transaction to using single unit of work only. So this is the definition or explanation about the database languages or SQL language. We are calling it as a SQL. SQL means structured query language. Using this SQL language, we have to use create, alter, update, delete your data on your database. Okay. Remember, these languages are very important. That are the four important languages: DML, DBL, DCL, and TCL. These are the four main important languages, we can use these languages. We have to create some statements using alter, update, delete the data on your database. So remember, first of all, I will explain about the DML and DCL. So here, the five main categories of SQL statements on your database as follows. So five. So mainly we have to use four only, but in your syllabus we have to follow five statements. Okay, the five statements are DML, DDL, DCL, DRL. So DDL, DRL is the somewhat important. Okay, next. So DML means data manipulation language. DDL means data definition language. DCL description for data control language. TCL means TCL description is the transaction control language. This is the brief description about your languages. I will explain these languages one by one. So listen carefully. Okay. Next, DML. DML means data manipulation language. It is a statement effect to records on your table. So when you are using this language, the language using some statement, the statements will be effect on your records on your table. When you're creating a table, in that table it will be effect. Okay, these are the basics operation we performed on the data such as selections of using few records from table. So from your table, few records we have to take and we have to inserting the your records and deleting and we have to delete unnecessary record and we have to modify, update your existing record. So when you want update, when you want modify, when you delete or when you are add, when you are insert, okay, when you are select your data from your table, you have to use following statements. So these statements comes under your DML language. So remember, DML is a data manipulation language. This language we are using in your table, it will be effect on your operations performed on your data, such as selecting a few records. It will be selecting some few records and it will be performed on a new record on your table using like that insert, delete and update, modifying in your records. So these are the statement you have to remember in your DML language. So first statement in your DML language, we are using the select statement. Okay, remember this select statement. Select means we have to select the records from the table. So when you're creating one data table, when you want to select that particular data, you have to use this statement, that is select statement. Select means it has to record from a table. So when you're using your data table, you have to select from your table. Okay, you understand? Next, second statement you have to use in your DML language is insert. Insert means we have to insert or we can add extra data on your table. Already data is available in your table, but you have to add it extra. You want to add that extra data on your table, you can use that insert statement. Using that insert statement, you will add your data. Okay, insert statements means insert new records. Next, update. Update statement. Update statement means we have to existing records. Already your data is created on your table, but you want to update and you will be modify existing records. So in your data records, you have to modify or you have to update. So you will use this update statement. Next statement is delete. Delete means you have to delete the existing records. When you are using this delete statement, you will remove data from your table and all the database. You have to delete. So you will use this delete statement. Next language is, so I will explain this DML language, data manipulation language, uh, using these statements. First statement is insert, second statement is update, next statement is delete, and you are using merge, call, explain, black table. So insert means insert the data into a table. Update means updates existing data within a table. So whatever data available in that table only you have to update. Delete. Delete means it will be deleting all your records from a table. The space from the record is remaining. So whatever space that will be available in your records. So when you are delete the records from your table, space is there in some space. So next statement is merge. Merge means offset operation. So insert or update. Next, insert or update. So using merge, offset of operations. Call a PLSQL or JavaScript program. Okay, explain plan. Explain plan means explain access path to the data. Here, lock table, control concurrency. So these are the statements you are using in your database manipulation system using the language as DML, data manipulation language. Remember those statements, very important statements are the four, that is insert, update, select, delete. These are the four commonly we have to use in your statements on your database commands on using the DML language, data manipulation language. Next, DDL. DDL defined for data definition language. It is defined by the data definition language. The statements are used to alter, modify the database or table structure. So the statement is to using, alter, modify a database or a table structure and schema. So in your table modification, you have a structure, you have one schema. You want to modify that structure and schema, you can use this language, that is DDL, data definition language. You can use, you will modify that structure and schema on your table or you created database. So this statement handles the design storage of database objects. It will be handling your storage of DBMS objects. So your DB object, database objects, it will be storage and using the handle the design. So in this DDL, data definition language, we are using commonly three statements. The common three statements are create, alter, drop. Very important. Common, we are using these three statements. First of all, create. Create means create a new table and we have to design a database or we have to use the schema. The schema will be using to create. So we can use the statement as create statement. The create statement will be creating new table or your DB or schema. Okay. If you want new table, if you want new database, if you want new schema, you will use this statement. The statement called create. Okay. So it is comes under your DDL language. DDL language is defined for the data definition language. So next statement is alter. So the alter statement will be using existing table or column description. Okay, when you are creating table, the table will be alter, existing table will be alter, and column will be description. So using the description and the alter method, use this statement, you have to alter a table. Okay, remember it's alter statement. Okay. Next one is drop statement. Drop statement we are using in your DDL for deleting existing object from the database. So from the database, you have to delete the objects one by one object. So you don't want that object, you have to delete that object. You can use the statement is called drop statement. Okay. Next. So these are the some statements using in your DDL, data definition language. The statements called truncate, commit, rename, drop, alter, create. So here truncate means using this truncate statement, you have to remove all records from your table. So when you are using drop, only one object will be deleted from your table. When you are using the truncate, all the objects from your table will be removed, including all spaces allocated from your records are also removed. So when you want delete all the data from your table, not a database, only table, we can use this truncate statement only. Okay. Next, commit statement. Commit statement will be using comments to the data dictionary. When you are adding your dictionary, you have to give some comments. Okay, you are using comment statement. Next, rename. Rename the object. When you are using this rename statement, you have to rename your object on your table. So these are the some important statements you are using in your DDL language. DDL data definition language, you are using these statements. Remember these statements. Once again, I will tell that statements are the create, alter, drop, truncate, commit, rename. Okay. All these important statement you are using in your DDL language. Next, DCL language, data control language. Data control language means it is defined by the data control language. The statements control the level of accessing the user have an database object. So the statement is control the level. So whatever objects you are used on your table, on your database, it will be controlled and it will be given the access to the user and from the database object. So user want to access the data from database, it will be used. Okay, this language. So you want access from the database, you can use DCL statements. DCL statements, data control language statements. So in this DCL data control language statement, mainly we have used two types of statements, that is grant or revoke. Okay, so here is two important, revoke, one more word, grant. So grant statement. First of all, what is grant statement? Grant statements gives user access privilege to the database. So it will be granting the permission from your database. So you can use this statement. What is the statement? The statement is called grant. Okay. Grant is allows to user to read, write on certain database object. So here what is doing? The grant is allowing the users. So users to read, write on your certain database objects. You can use the grant statement. Okay. Remember this statement. Next statement is revoke. Revoke. Revoke means it will be using withdraw access privilege given with the granted comments. Whatever access is given to granted to your database, that only withdraw access. So it will be withdraw. Withdraw means we have to whatever options. So whatever permissions is granted from your database table. So revoke only using withdraw that access privilege to given the grant command. So it will keeps user from the read write permission on the database objects. Okay, so grant revoke is somewhat related to same but two different statements. So grant is allowing access, revoke is withdrawing access from your database objects only. Remember these two important statements, that is grant, revoke. Okay, grant, revoke comes under the TCL language. Okay, the control language, two important statements, grant and revoke only. Remember these two important statements from your language. Okay, and the fourth one is TCL. TCL defined for transaction control language. TCL. It is the one of the language. It is defined the transaction control language. So the language statements allows to user control and manage the transactions. So the statements will be allowing to your controlling of your data on your table and the managing the transaction. What are the transactions happening on your table, on your database? It will be using the statement. The statements are is used to we have to managing the transaction. We will be control the transaction from your database. So it will be maintain the integrity of data within SQL statements, structured query language statements only. The TCL will be maintain the integrity of data. So here the three important statements we have to use in your TCL language. So the TCL language, the three important statements are: first one, begin; second one, commit; third one is the rollback. Okay, these are the three important statements. That is begin statement. Next one is commit statement. Next one is the rollback statement. So begin transaction. Begin transaction means it is a open a transaction. When the transactions happen on your table, on your database, when you are using the statement begin transaction, it will be using open your transaction. For you want to open a transaction, you will use the begin transaction only. Next, commit transaction. Commit transaction will be commit say transactions. So when you are creating your transaction, the transactions will be fixed and it will be committed to the transactions only. Okay, that is the second statement. Next statement is rollback statement. Using this rollback statement transaction, it will be using in case of any error. In case of any error, so when you are using a table, when you are following the database, any errors happening in your table, you can use this statement. The statement name is called rollback transaction. Okay, remember these three transaction statements using on your transaction control language only. Okay, the three important statements are begin, commit, rollback. Using these three transactions, you can use only to open the transaction, commit the transaction, and you have to roll back. In case of any errors, you will use rollback. These are the TCL statements, transaction control language statements only. Okay, so these are the four important languages in your database. You have to create your data on your table or your alter, update, delete, or permission given or withdraw from the using those four languages. The four languages, four statements I will explain one by one once again. So first of all, data manipulation language. First language is we are using DML, data manipulation language. Second, insert. So in this DML, we are following these statements. That are statements are select, insert, update, delete. So next, DDL, data definition language. Here we are using three types of statements. The statements are create, alter, drop. Okay, these are the three statements we have to follow on your DDL language. Next, DCL language. DCL language is grant revoke. Only two statements using in your data control language. Okay. Next on transaction control language. Transaction control language we have to use three: begin, commit, or rollback. Begin transaction, commit transaction, rollback transaction. These are the three statements you are using in your transaction control language only. Okay, remember these four languages very important on your database system. Okay, when you want create, when you want alter, when you want update, when you want delete, when you want given permission, when you want take permission back. So when your transactions happen, you have to begin using committed. What are the transactions performing on your system? You will commit, and if any errors happen, we'll be using rollback. Okay, these are the statements. Remember these all statements using the four languages. Okay, next one. So TCL commands. So transaction control commands are used to manage transactions in a database. So very important TCL transaction control language. The commands are statements you are using in your database. It will be managing the transactions on your DB. So the managing transaction will be managed from your DB using the transaction control language. Okay, these are used to manage the changes made by the DML statement, data manipulation language changes made by the DML statement. Okay, DML language statements we can use to manage to transaction control language. It is also allows statements to be grouped together into a logical transaction. So group of statements is allowing. What is allowing? transaction control language will be allows to group of statements together into a logical transaction. When you are using logical transaction, the group of statements will be followed using the DML language. So these are the commit command. Commit command is used to permanently save any transaction into a database. In your database table, you have to commit command. Use this permanently save on the that transaction. Following commit command syntax using we have to use commit. So rollback command. Rollback command or rollback statement. It is the command to restore the database to last committed state. Last committed states it is to also use its save point command to jump into a save point to a transaction. So rollback command syntax you are using rollback, okay, ROLLBAC, using this statement to following command syntax. Okay, so it will be using to save point command to jump to a save point to a transaction. Okay, save point command. Save point command or statement. It is to use temporarily save transaction. The save point statement is used to temporarily saving the transactions so that you can roll back to the points whenever whatever you want necessary. Okay, that transactions will be saved on some point in your DB table, database table. So following command syntax we are using that is all letter SAVPOINT save point underscore name. Okay. So example of save point and rollback following the class table. Here we are taking one class table. Here ID and name is there. We want save the name. So we will write let us some SQL queries on the above table. See the result. Okay. So here I want use the statement. So till now, I'm explaining some statement. Using that statements, we'll explain an example. First of all, insert statement. Insert statement, we will use insert into a class value. The values are 5 comma name, ID comma name, the commit update class set name equal to Abhijit, where ID is 5, save point is A, insert into class value, cherish and save point B, and insert into a class value 7 Barivo. So save point C selects from the class. So here A, B, C is the save points. So in this A, I want save Rahul and his value. And B save point here cherish R6 value we will be saved. Okay. The C save point I am going to insert the value 7 and Barivo. So ID name will be inserted in that save point. Okay. So like this it will become. Okay. So one is ID, that is the name, two is the ID, Wahab is the name, four is the ID, Sadiq is the name. We have inserted using insert statement. I will insert those values on the name. Okay. So now roll back save point B. So roll back to the B select star from the class. Okay. So here roll back for B. So B the name will be deleted. So these are all are the examples we are using on your TCL command. Okay. So DRL versus TQL. DRL means data retrieval language. TQL means data query language. So both are same. Data query language or data retrieval languages are both are the same. Okay. So DRL means data retrieval language. This is will be used for a retrieval of data from the database. So you want retrieve the data from database, you can use DRL language. In order to see the data present in your DB, we will use DRL statement. We have only one DRL statement. So we have only one DRL statement, that is data retrieval language. The language is used for retrieving the data from the database, and in order to see the data from present database, we will use the DRL statement only. We have only one DRL statement. So how we will write this DRL statement? Using the statement select statement is the only DRL statement is in your SQL. So select is DRL or DDL, DQL. Once again. Okay, select CRL or DQL is the data retrieval page only. Next, these are the statements are often divided into a three categories. So the three categories are often to a three categories that your structure query language is divided into a three categories. The structure query languages three categories are DML, DDL, DCL. Okay, DML data manipulation, DDL data definition, DCL data control. Okay, these three important categories on your SQL statements it is will be divided three. The SQL structure query language statements are often divided into three categories. Okay, first category is data manipulation language that SQL statements are used to retrieve and manipulate data. This category encompasses to the most fundamental commands in your that most fundamental commands regularly used commands are regularly used statements that are delete, insert, select, okay, or update. Using these DML statements have only minor difference between SQL variant and DML SQL commands, including the following: delete, insert, select, update. Okay, these are the four statements. Delete to remove the rows, insert add the rows, select the rows, update changes happen in your columns. You can use these statements. DDL definition language SQL statement define the structure of the database, including rows, columns, tables, indexes, and database specifics such as file location are more part of the DMS. DBMS large difference between SQL variants and SQL variants. Okay, so DCL. So in this DCL language, we are using more three statements or three commands that is create, drop, DBC database console command. Next, DCL control is SQL statements to security to given the permissions of the objects or the part of the database. So the statements are all more part of the DBMS only, and it also large difference between the SQL variant and data manipulation language SQL commands, including the following. The following are the granted any revoke. Okay, these are the three categories you have to follow on your SQL statement that are more most important languages. Okay, what is the fastest command type from the three command types? Okay, so that three languages DDL, DML, DCL, data definition language, data manipulation language, data control language. In these three languages, what is the fastest command you can use? So during the execution of your DDL statements, the DDL will not be copy actual content of the rollback table space. Hence, it is the fast compared to the DML compare command, DML statement. Okay, so these are the fastest command type from your three languages is DDL. Okay, data definition language. Okay, thank you. Thanks for listening my class. Myself, I am Sunil, Assistant Professor in Computer Science Engineering in Malapati College. So, if you have any doubts, please ask me questions. Thank you all. Thank you everyone.